Hello and good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're feeling grand and always when you want. Hello everybody. Welcome to A&Q Wednesday. Let's dive into question one, shall we? Beard getting in my mouth. Need to trim that bit. Anyway, moving. So question one today is how does it feel to have an audience all around the world? I don't think words are enough to actually describe how awesome that feels. And it's something that I never ever kind of thought would ever happen. You know, I mean, I never thought I'd be seen by people all over the world. You know, especially, I just didn't. It never happened. So, but I've got, without YouTube, this never would have happened. And I feel it's just incredible, and it's never lost on me how incredible it is, and it blows my mind every day, and I love it. It's just ace, and I love talking to different people from all different, all over the world. It's just wicked. It's absolutely wicked. I love it to bits. It makes me happy to know that there's people all that pocketed all around the world who see me play and watch these videos. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something good, worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just kind of like doing nothing, or not doing anything well enough. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever. But no, I mean, I love it. I really appreciate everybody who watches my videos and watches and supports this channel, my Patreons, the people on Patreon who support me. It just all makes a massive difference to what I can and cannot do. And when I first started playing guitar, if you'd have told me then that, in 18 years' time, you would have however many subscribers, on a thing called YouTube watching you from all over the world, I'd be like, no, you're a liar. You know what I mean? There's no way, because, saying that, when I first started playing guitar in 2002, didn't even have the internet, so it doesn't even make any difference. But yeah, it's wicked. I love it. It's crazy to think sometimes, when you get certain comments or questions from people, and like you see where you come from, is just everywhere. It's just like, wow, yeah, this is really cool. This is really cool. So I love it. I really love it. And the world is a very big / small place. There's not many places you can't reach and get to in this day and age with the internet and technology and stuff like that. So to know that people watch my videos all over the world is just fantastic. I just love it. It's such a cool feeling, and it just makes me very humble, and it makes me want to push myself to be as best as I can be every time, because I don't want to let you down ever. You know what I mean? I always want to be the best I can be, and if I feel like I've not fulfilled that, then that's not good enough. And I always feel that, to be honest with you. I never do anything, and I never really have done anything, since the world changed for me back when I was younger. I've never done anything since where I thought, well, that was good. You know what I mean? I've always thought, that's okay. It's not good enough. You need to push yourself harder. And in a way, that's really bad. But in another way, that's really good, because it gives me motivation to go, no, you've got to get better. You've got to keep going. You can't just stop. That's not good enough. And I like to push myself in that way. And I like to be able to kind of have a, when that kind of doubt, fear, whatever comes into my brain of you're not good enough, isn't it? I like to use that in a positive way instead of a negative way to drive me. And I've had that for a while. I mean, I lose to it sometimes, sadly. Sometimes it wins and I lose. But that's the way it goes, I suppose. Especially if you've got mental health problems and all sorts of other lovely stuff that, some of us have swimming around in our brains. But I do believe that kind of the negative side of ourselves that says you're no good and you're useless and you need to try harder. I think you can harness that to be better, to get better. You don't have to use it as a thing to put yourself down with. You can actually use it in a positive way. It's tough, and it doesn't always work though. But when it does, it's wicked, because you can then turn that thing on its head, and all of a sudden you are kind of like, using that negativity as a positivity, and it helps drive you along the tracks better than if you just kind of like stagnate and just go to a standstill. And because of you lot watching, like, I always want to try and be the best I can be. I want to put all the effort into playing and making music and being the best musician I can be for you. So there's something you can take away, hopefully, and incorporate into your playing or your style, or I can teach you something if I can, and this, that, and the other. So and that's really important to me to know that I'm kind of like, I need to feel that I'm doing something worthwhile. I do struggle with that. That is one of the things I do struggle with. But, I'm trying. I'm trying. I don't think I'll ever not struggle with it. I think I'll always have problems with kind of like, putting myself down and thinking I'm no good and I'm useless and I shouldn't exist and, just find a cliff and jump off it. I think I'll always struggle with that because I don't really know how to not, if that makes any sense. Coming back to mental health awareness, I don't really know how I turn that off completely. I can shut it up, or I can lower the volume on it, but I can't shut it up completely or shut it out completely as well, especially not at this point in time. And maybe in the future, but it's difficult. Especially difficult recently with certain things, and also the fact that recently with everything that's going on, I'm spending a lot of my time alone. I'm alone a lot recently, and that's kind of it's starting to take its toll on me a little. Not hugely. I'm kind of good in my own company, but I am struggling recently with being alone every now and again. But this is where you lot come in again, because if I start to feel that, I will then pick up the guitar or pick up a camera and start filming something, or I'll do something that goes, right, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to write a song, you've got to get it out, it's got to be good, it's got to be better than the last one, and you've got to keep pushing. You can't just go, that'll do, it has to be, no, that's the best I can get it. I can't do any more than that. And if you're not knackered, then you've not done, I haven't done you lot proud enough, in my opinion. I just want to keep getting better, because I feel, you deserve it, and I feel that that's what I should be doing anyway, and that's what we should all be doing as musicians, guitarists, bass players, drummers. We should all have that drive to go, I'm not the best I can be yet. I need to work at this, and I need to work at this, and I need to work at this, and then maybe one day, I might get a little bit closer. I think another thing to accept about being guitarist, musician, whatever, is you're never going to be, you should always be kind of like that thing of like, I am not the best. I don't ever think like you should ever think like, oh my God, aren't I amazing? I think that's really dangerous. I think that's a really dangerous road to go down, because then you can just kind of like, you can stop learning. You stop being a sponge and you become a dried up sponge that just kind of goes in the bin, because you think you know and you don't. And that is the one thing we should all understand, is we know nothing. Take our guitar for instance. I'm loving this guitar, by the way. I have it in open C, by the way. The intro jam today, by everybody. This guitar is I put it into open C because big Devon Townsend fan, and Dev likes Les Paul Customs, even though he doesn't play them. But I understand why he likes them for open tuning, because they just sound wicked. Yeah, this guitar in open C sounds fantastic. Although I do need to get some heavier strings on it. It's got 9s on it at this point in time because I had it in standard, but I need to put some. They're a bit flippy floppy with in open C, but I'm going to put some 11s on it just because I'm so down tuned with it. Anyway, but yeah, how does it feel to have an audience all over the world? Absolutely fantastic, and it drives me, and it pushes me, and it pokes me, and it kicks me into being the best I can be, and that's where I want to be. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on the negative side of that's where I want to be, if that makes any sense, but I want to be on that side of like, you've got to get better. You can't just stop. You've got to keep going and pushing yourself and just kind of dig deep every time, kind of thing. So So yeah, I hope I haven't had part of your question now, because I could talk about that all day, and I will if I'm not careful, and there'll be a million tangents in that. Okay, so viewer part question 1 is, you asked, how do you feel about ESP guitars, especially the vintage style LTDs? I haven't tried any of the vintage style ones, like the Telecasters and the Strats kind of things that ESP slash LTD do. But I really like ESP guitars. I've tried a lot of them, and the LTD ones, I really like them. I think they're great guitars. I mean, I've got no desire to own one, other than I'll talk about that in a second. But I do like them. I reckon they sound really cool. You know, they do what they do. But I'm not the biggest fan of them. But I do love them. If that makes any sense. Like, you know, some of them are really cool. I remember when I first started playing guitar, 2002, 2003. Would it have been around that time? Yeah, it would have been 2002, 3-ish. I remember seeing "I Disappear" by Metallica on a Kerrang TV, music TV, at a friend's house, and they were doing "I Disappear" video, and I think it's in the video for "I Disappear" that James Hetfield's playing the tread plate ESP kind of Explorer. It's got the silver tread plate on the front of it, and I lusted after that guitar, man. I really, really wanted that guitar. It looked so cool, and I loved the idea of it, and it looked so kind of like, you know, rock. And also I loved "I Disappear." I love that song, and it's one of my favourite Metallica songs, and I think Kirk's guitar solo in that is fantastic. It's a really Jimi Hendrix guitar solo, and it does exactly what it needs to do. It serves the song perfectly. And it's such a cool song. And I remember seeing that video and thinking, what is that? And then I had a friend who had one, and I got to play it a few times, and I was so jealous of it. I was so jealous of that guitar. I might buy one just one day, just to, you know, just for a little bit, just to fulfill that little boyhood fantasy that Dave had, little Dave had at 16, 17 years old of owning that ESP guitar. But yeah, absolutely. I really, really wanted them, but I haven't tried any of the vintage ones. I've seen I've seen a few on TV, on YouTube, the new TV, and here and there and everywhere. But I've never really I haven't seen any to try at this point in time. But you know, hopefully, if the world ever gets back to normal, one day I might actually be able to try one. But I really like ESP, LTD. They're great guitars. Everyone I've tried, I've liked. You know what I mean? It's the same with Schecter guitars are the same for me. I really like Schecter guitars. I've got no desire to own one at all, but I really like them. You know, they do the job. You know what I mean? Hang on a minute. I've just remembered. I did try a LTD Gold Top Les Paul copy, and that was really nice. But I didn't like the layout of the dials, because the dials were like kind of a semicircle, but there's only 3 of them. Which I prefer, actually. But in all fairness, with a Les Paul, I'd actually prefer to have a master volume and a master tone, like the Lemon Drop, and, you know, sack the other 2 volumes off, the other volume and tone off. But I did try that actually at Old Hat. My God, I just remembered, and it was like a relic. I remember it being like a relic. The gold wasn't right at all. It was really kind of like orange, really ugly actually, to be honest with you. But it sounded great and it played great, but I didn't like the layout of the controls. They felt a bit weird where they were. It didn't feel right. The neck was great, it played great and it sounded great, but the gold wasn't right and the controls weren't right. And I found it ergonomically, it was quite difficult to get around with those controls. But it was a great guitar. So yeah, I have tried, I think I'm guessing that'd be kind of a vintage thing, but it was great. Awesome guitar. But again, it just didn't do it for me. It didn't feel right. It did, you know, because I went into Old Hat actually. I said, do you have any budget gold tops? And he said, oh yeah, we've actually got this. This was before I worked there. And he said, oh, I've got this. And I was like, oh, wicked. And then I saw a call. I was like, yeah, it's not the right gold. And again, being a stickler for gold top, the gold has to be right on a gold top for me to want it. Because I know, having owned the Gibson R7, that's the gold I want. And I don't like it when they're not quite right. Anyway, that's why I love the vintage so much. Anyway, because it is the right gold. And yeah, you'll more on that soon. But yeah, so yeah, yeah, that was a good guitar. But like I said, I didn't like because they didn't have a layout of a volume and a tone. But other than that, it was a good guitar. You know, if it was like this, I would have liked it more. But there is an LTD or is it an ESP? I don't know if they do an LTD version of it. But I really want to try the LTD ESP, whichever version it is, of the James Hetfield Iron Cross Les Paul Custom, because I think that guitar looks just wicked. It's so cool. You know, the black custom with the gold like Go Faster stripe and the Iron Cross there. And, whew, that guitar looks ace. I was watching a video on YouTube the other week, which is their backstage videos. You know, they film on their YouTube channel, and they were doing it before the other S&M concert, M&S. Is it S&M, Symphony and Metallica, or is it Metallica and Symphony? It's certainly not the other way around. It's not M&S, it's not Delicious Sandwiches, and it's not certainly one where you string yourself up from the ceiling. But either way, they were backstage and James was playing his Iron Cross. I think it was an ESP, though. I think that's an ESP. And he was playing it, and I just looked at it and I thought, God, that looks so cool. It does. It looks so cool. Anyway, but yeah, they're really, really cool. I'm going to move on, though, because I'm going to talk about it all day. But anyway, yeah, so I hope this is a question. I'm going to move on to question 2 now. Question 2 is, what do you think... Now, this question is really difficult to answer, so get ready for Dave to be really self-deprecating. So question 2 is, what do you think makes you such a good guitar player, and what allows you to not think and just play? Okay, so I'm going to answer the last part of the question first, because the top part is difficult. So what allows me to think and not play is just experience of just doing it and doing it and doing it again. You know, it's just one of those things where and that's what I wanted. You know what I mean? It wasn't something where I was like, I want to think about things. I found very early on that I play better if I don't think. If I think, I can't play. Because I just become over analytical and critical of myself, and then I just start going down a rabbit hole of making loads of mistakes, and it just becomes a mess. And then I get angry at myself, and then I start beating myself up internally, which can lead to external beatings, which is not fun. Not so much recently, which is nice for a change. But so yeah, I mean, what allows me it's just doing it for years and years and years. I mean, I'm playing 18 years. And it's just a case of just playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. And eventually, you know, you just get to that point, you know, where you just turn your brain off. You don't need to think about what you do. You know, you just pick up the guitar and you play. You know. So what allows me to do it, it's just playing. It's just practice, experience, and that's it. That's literally it. So coming back to the first part of your question, what do you think makes me such a good guitar player? I don't think I am. So this is quite difficult to answer. I think I'm an okay guitarist. I know a lot of people might be coming in the comment section differently, you know. But again, coming back to question 1, I don't like to think I'm anything special because I don't. I feel it can kind of be a dangerous road to go down, and I've seen a lot of people go down that road and they don't come back from it because it just it does that. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want to follow that road. And I feel, although I don't have that kind of personality where that wouldn't happen with me because I'm just not that kind of person. I just don't even want to entertain the fact that I'm that good because again, it starts to detract from why I'm doing it, which is I want to be, I just want to get better. You know, I don't want to ever think that like, you know, oh, I'm amazing. I think if you ever get to that point, I think you're in trouble because, you know, and you're also destined for a fall as well. If you think you're the best thing since sliced bread, and then something else comes along that's better, then you fall. Eric Clapton's a good example of this. You know, before Jimi Hendrix came along to London in '66. Eric was God. You couldn't get a better guitarist in the world than Eric Clapton. Then Jimi Hendrix came along and just literally blew him out of the water. And he fell, you know. Same with Peter Frampton. I remember watching an interview with Peter Frampton. He was saying, like, you know, the level of fame that he got to, you know, how high he got, he said he wished he kind of never got there because once you get to that height, there's only one way you can go, and it's down. And that's a horrible thing. So throughout my entire life, I would just rather do this and never reach a peak. I don't want to ever reach the peak. You know what I mean? I don't want to get to that point where you look down and go, oh my God, and then you have to fall, because I don't want to do that. I just want to keep going up and up and up and up and up, you know, and gradually. I don't want to go like that. I want to go dip, and then maybe dip, and then nit, and then nit. You know what I mean? Every now and again, you take another step. And I'm not in any rush, you know, to go anywhere. But what, you know, I wouldn't say I'm, you know, I would say I'm an okay guitar player. You know, I'm able to play what I want, the way I want, and sound the way I want. Again, through just doing it and doing it and doing it, experience and playing, and just finding what I like and what I don't like. But I do feel one of the things that you do have to do as a guitar player is be honest and true to you, not anybody else. So when you find something that works for you, then I reckon it's important to kind of stick to it. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like people ask me all the time, aren't you sick of like trying to be, you know, aren't you annoyed at like trying to be like a Jimi Hendrix, John Frusciante clone? No, because that's what I want to be. I want to be a clone of them both. That's what I want to be. I want to get Jimi Hendrix and John Frusciante and smash them together, and in so doing, create me. You know what I mean? I'm not interested in kind of like pursuing anything that doesn't feel right to me, or playing anything that doesn't feel right to me. If it doesn't feel right, I don't care about it. You know what I mean? If it feels right, then wicked. And that's all that matters to me, is I go totally on feel. And I think that's really important. You've got to be honest and you've got to be true to yourself. So when people tell you, it's like, oh, you'd sound better with a valve amp, you know, well, I might to you, but I might not to me. And I'm not going to sacrifice that part of me and go out and buy a valve amp just to satisfy somebody else's wants and needs for me. You know what I mean? I have to follow my own road with that thing, because guitar tone, guitar style, blah, 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 is a totally personal thing to us. We have to go by what we want, not what anybody else wants for us. So if somebody says, oh, you need to get this, that, and the other, and you don't want that, then you don't do it. You know what I mean? Regardless of who they are or what they say. You know, even me, I recommend the Boss Katana to everybody, or the Marshall MG, or the Orange CR120, or whatever, you know. But just because I've recommended it doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. You know what I mean? So, you know, you have to walk your own road. You have to walk your own line. You need people there to guide you sometimes, but that's all they'll ever be, is guides. They can't walk the road for you, they can't carry you, and they definitely can't accompany you. You have to be alone on this journey. And the only way to kind of like progress, in my opinion, is to, you know, like I say, is to be totally honest and true to what you want. You know what I mean? If you want to play this, that, and the other, then play that. If you want to do this, do that. You know, whatever you want to do it. But it's got to feel right. If it feels wrong, and you'll know if it feels wrong, then it's really not the thing for you. You know, if you're not getting any joy or pleasure out of it, then it's not the thing for you. You know, we've all been there at some point in our lives with one thing or another, where we're like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. And the guitar and music is no different to that. You know, you just have to take it from your perspective, because at the end of the day, that's all we've got, is our own perspective. You can't see the world through anybody else's eyes. You can only see it through yours. So walk your road, walk your line, and do what feels right to you, and use what you want to use, and the sound you want to use, and everything like that. You know, if you have no desire to do certain things, don't do it. There's no point. It's a waste of time. Do what you want to do, and forget the rest, because it's not important. You're not here long enough to waste time doing something you're never going to do or enjoy, you know, so you might as well enjoy it and do things that you'll have fun with. It's like that, I don't know if it's really relevant to this, but there is a line that Jim Carrey says where, what is it? You can fail at something you can fail at something you don't want to do, so you might as well take a chance at something you do. You might as well take a chance at doing something you do want to do. You know what I mean? Because you can go out there and you can do, like, you know, the most safest thing in the world, and, you know, never take a risk in your life, but you can fail doing that. So you might as well just dive into the pond you want to dive into and make it yours. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know. But what makes me a good guitarist, and another thing that makes you a good guitarist and a good person, is to stay humble and to stay true. Like I said, true, but also the fact of, never think you know. Like I said at the beginning, like you know nothing. You can always learn more. And listen to people when they talk to you. Like, when people were telling me this thing is fake, and I was like, no, I can't have that side of me dented. You got it dented regardless. I failed at that, but that's a lesson learned. You know what I mean? And that's what makes me progress more. That's another step on that climb we all have to go through life. So listen to people. You don't have to listen. You don't have to take on what they say if you don't want to do it, but listen nonetheless. There's another quote, Jimi Hendrix quote about what is it? Was it knowledge speaks but wisdom listens or something like that? I can't remember what that one is. Somebody, people with a tube, if you know that one, write in the comment section below. I'm coming out with all the quotes today, all wrong, probably, but yeah, I'm just going to have to find that one. What is it? Because it's going to annoy me otherwise. But no, I mean, I do think you have to be honest and you've got to be true. You've got to walk your line. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. But you've got to be you. You've got to be you. Don't try and be something you don't want to be. It's not. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Jimmy, come back, please. Anyway, but yeah, so but yeah, and again, being a sponge, just looking and learning all the time. When I see a guitarist, no matter who they are, I am drawn to their hands. I never look at what they wearing look like, whatever. I'm drawn to the hands. I want to see their hands because I want to see if there's anything I can learn from watching these things. Steve Vai, for instance. Watch Steve. You can see how economical he is with his fingers. And then you can look at Jimi Hendrix and see how his hands move, and John Frusciante, and you see how their hands move. And you can learn so much by just locking into somebody's hands and just looking at them and studying the way their fingers move and the way this right hand moves and stuff like that. It's fascinating. I love watching other guitarists' hands. You can learn so much by seeing. It's really cool. Anyway, but yeah. There you go. I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense, but hopefully it did. Anyway, I'm going to have to move on. But yeah, I hope it's answered your question anyway. But like I say, what makes me such a good player? I don't think I am that great. But I'm okay. I'm okay. But like I say, I don't want to think too much of myself because I just don't like that. I've never liked that. I don't like the idea of it. And that's not really me being kind of like self-deprecating. That's just me. That's just the way I am. I actually don't like to think that I'm anything special. And that's not me being nasty to myself. It's just the way I feel about me and always kind of have for as long as I can remember. But anyway, enough of that. So anyway, going to move on to question 3 now, everybody. So question 3 is, what's your favourite electric guitar and pickups that Kurt Cobain used? Okay, my favourite Kurt guitar is the Jag, with the I think it was it DiMarzio Super Distortion, or was it Seymour Duncan? I think it's DiMarzio Super Distortion. Yeah, because didn't he have a Seymour Duncan in the neck? It was like a PAF in the neck. I'm just gonna have to check this one really quick. But that my favourite Kurt guitar is the Jaguar, because I love the look of the mods on it. You got the 3 dials on the control panel. You've got the up and down Les Paul kind of select switch with a high pass filter still in it, which is so cool. And then you got the 2 humbuckers. You got the small headstock as well, which is weird to see on a Jaguar. It's such a bizarre look to have a small headstock on a Jaguar, but it's so cool nonetheless. Hang on a minute, everybody, give me a sec. But they're just ridiculously cool. I just love that guitar. It's my favourite. Yeah, it's the DiMarzio. So that's my favourite guitar. That's my favourite sounding guitar of Kurt's as well. Whenever I hear the Jag, I prefer it. I do like his Vandalism Strat. I do like the Vandalism Strat, definitely. And I also like the Tune-o-matic Strat as well. And I also like the Mosrites. And obviously the Mustangs. But my favourite guitar of Kurt's is the Jag. Yes, DiMarzio's Super Distortion and a DiMarzio PAF. So it wasn't Seymour Duncan. Oh, the Seymour Duncans were in the Vandalism Strat. It was a JB Junior or something in the bridge. Yeah, so it's just DiMarzio's in the Jag. Yeah, so it's a PAF in the neck and the Super Distortion in the bridge. I really want a Super Distortion pickup because they're so many people I like use them. Dave Murray and Kurt used them, and I really want a guitar with a DiMarzio Super Distortion in it. It'd be so cool. Anyway, but that's my favourite guitar, and they're my favourite pickups, really. I suppose you could say. But out of Kurt's arsenal of guitars, that is definitely my favourite. I love that guitar to bits. I would love to own the well, I suppose you could call it a signature replica. I don't know what you'd call it, but I'd love to own that. It's way out of my price range, but again, they didn't quite get the sunburst right, and the scratch plate doesn't quite right because it was an old Jag. It was a vintage Jag. I mean, it was heavily modded, but I can't remember. For some reason, I want to say 65, but I don't think it was a 65. I don't remember. But that is my favourite sounding guitar of Kurt's. It's just really cool. But the next behind that was the Sunburst Strat he had at the Reading Festival. They eventually gave to the crowd, but eventually came back. And the Sunburst Strat was my other favourite guitar. But he uses that quite a lot for the Reading Festival. And he bleeds on it. He cuts his finger off. Well, be this hand. Cuts his hand on it and he bleeds on the guitar, but it's such a wicked sounding guitar. You know, he does like a D7 on it and stuff like that, and it's just so cool. And he's got a humbucker and a single, you know, he uses a single coil and the humbucker, and it's so cool. But my favourite Kurt setup is definitely the Jag with the DiMarzios, you know, and it's just so cool. And all the fact he had to tape the switches down so he didn't knock them about the place. Although I do, if I remember correctly, in the Reading Festival gig, he doesn't use the Jag much because it's acting up. Like, the sound keeps going funny on it, and he eventually just stops using it and just uses a Sunburst Strat. He does use the black, he has a black Strat as well, which looks like a cheapo, which he smashes at the Reading Festival as well. But, yeah, the Jag didn't really behave at the Reading Festival, as well as the Sunburst Strat. The Mustangs were cool, and the Mosrites are cool, and I like the Jag Stangs a bit, but the Jag, to me, when I think of a Jaguar, I think of two people, and that's John Frusciante and that's Kurt Cobain. You know, that's who I associate the Jaguar with. I know there's other people like, you know, there's Johnny Marr, and you know, there's a lot of bands who use Jaguars and the Offsets, but to me, like, you know, they're the most prominent players in my mind of Jaguar users is Kurt and John. But I love Kurt's Jag, just the modified nature of it, and it's just so cool. It's such a cool guitar, and yeah, so with the DiMarzios as well, and it's such a gnarl. It's got such a gnarl to it, especially when he, like, you know, when he does like stuff like Negative Creep on it and stuff like that, and it's just such a wicked guitar. It's such a wicked guitar. And Kurt really, in all fairness, I know little to nothing about that guitar, other than the fact I just love it. You know what I mean? I just love the way it looks, but I love the way it sounds, and love the way it sounded in Kurt's hands through his setup. But I don't really know much about that guitar. So, I mean, I had to double check about the DiMarzios because, you know, although I kind of didn't know, I kind of knew about DiMarzios, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, but yeah, that's my favourite Kurt guitar. That's my favourite Kurt guitar sound is the Jag. And it just suited him so well. You know, the weird, like, strangeness of the Jaguar sound and the short scale length really seems to go hand in hand with Kurt. You know, he liked Mustangs as well. I mean, his signature guitar, the Jag Stang, is a combination of the Jaguar and the Mustang. But I don't know. That is my favourite sound of Kurt's. When I hear the Jag, I'm just like, that's the one. You know, when I hear him play like, you know, the Vandalism Strat or the Sunburst Strat or any of the other guitars like the Mustangs or the Jag Stangs, you know, I'm like, that sounds really, really cool, but it doesn't sound like that Jaguar. You know, there was a bit of a, I reckon the Jag had a bit more of a gnarl and it had a bit more kind of fatness to it than the other guitars did. You know, I'm not saying the other guitars were thinner by any stretch of imagination, because Kurt didn't do thin sounds. He had huge sounds. So Kurt managed to bend the rules when it came to guitar tone between getting really high end and really low end and mids. He seemed to have the whole spectrum, but retain a gnarl and a nastiness that is just so hard to replicate. You know, there's a Nirvana tribute band in the UK. I think they're just called Nirvana UK. He's got it perfect. He's got all Kurt's gear. And he knows his stuff. He really knows Kurt's tone inside and out, and he nails it. I've never heard anybody get as close as that in my life. It's ridiculous. And he's got a video on YouTube somewhere of him going through his pedals and his guitars and the amp and the Mesa Boogie rack mount he uses and power amp he uses. And it's just wicked to watch. And I like watching people like that because he's so passionate about Kurt and his tone and getting it right. And I love that. It's so cool. But it's like Randy Hansen with Jimi Hendrix, and you know, I love that. I love that kind of level of dedication to an artist who you love, who you owe so much to. It's why I get so carried away with John Frusciante. You know, I just love the man, and I love everything about him. You know what I mean? And guitar tone and everything like that. Maybe one day I'll meet him, but I highly doubt it. Anyway, moving along. So that's my favourite electric guitar / pickups that Kurt used, Jag DiMarzio. Okay, so moving on to question 8. Question 4. Question 4 is, what do you think to Dimebag Darrel and the sound he has? I had a massive phase of learning Dimebag. I was in a Pantera tribute band for a while. Not very long, about a month. It folded very quick. I think we did like one gig, but I might remember him that wrong. But anyway, I was in that, and I used my Epiphone Les Paul for that. But I remember playing Cowboys from Hell when I was studying in London at the ICMP in Kilburn. And I love playing that. And it's one of those songs I really enjoy playing. I can't play it very well at all anymore. I used to be able to play it a lot better. I used to be able to do it down-picked. I can't do that anymore. But again, because it was something I never really... I learned it and never used it, so it just went out the window. It's the same with 8-finger tapping. I remember when I used to be able to do that, and sweep picking. I remember when I used to be able to do that, and I can't anymore because I don't do it, and I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? It just didn't interest me. So I learned it, and it was just a waste of time. I should have put the effort into something else. But anyway, needless to say, come back to Dimebag Darrel. So the sound he has, I'm not a big fan of Dimebag Darrel's sound, although I do like it. And my God, is it perfect for the music he plays. You know what I mean? You couldn't have got a better thrash metal-y tone than Dimebag Darrel's. It is really, you know, and he uses solid-state amps. For the music, it's perfect. You know, you hear songs like Walk, or Cowboys from Hell, or Cemetery Gates, and you're just like, it's so perfect. It's so perfect. You know what I mean? And he really did, like, you know, carve out a notch for himself. He really did. And he definitely didn't deserve what he got. Absolutely brutal and disgusting. And he should be still with us. And it's gutting and he's not. And it's really not cool in any way, shape or form. I can't class myself as a super fan of Dimebag Darrel's. But my God, was he awesome. You know, I mean, my God, was he a great guitar player. You know, and he loved the guitar as well. You know what I mean? That came across. You could always... His love for music and guitar, you could not question that. And that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Yet the music eventually didn't appeal to me. I wasn't interested in Pantera after... I had a phase where I was really heavily into him for about 3/4 of a year. And I learned loads of songs and solos and all sorts of different tricks and stuff like that. Like, you know, crazy harmonic dive bombs and whammy things. But I kind of like, after a while, I was kind of like, this isn't really, it's pulling me in a direction where, I feel I don't want to go. And I felt like I learned what I wanted to learn from him, and that was where as far as I wanted to go with it. I'd learned certain things, like harmonic dive bombs and stuff like that. I learned them from him. And it wasn't until, like, finding out later on, like, Steve Vai does those things, and then John Frusciante did them during Mother's Milk with his Ibanez's and stuff like that. It wasn't until that then I realised where these kind of crazy whammy effects, tricks come from, so to say. Tremolo arm effects with Floyd. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, he made a significant kind of effect on my guitar playing for a brief period of time, and then it just kind of stopped. I've had that with a few guitarists. There was Dimebag Darrel was definitely one of them, and there's a few others. Drawing a bit of a blank at this point in time, but they're there for a reason. At the point you find them, if that makes any sense. So Dimebag Darrel was there when I was kind of like, just learning and figuring, and that would have been about 2004. That would have been 2004 I got into him. So I was kind of like coming out of my Yngwie Malmsteen stage, and I'd gone into Jimi Hendrix, and then from Jimi Hendrix I got into Dimebag Darrel. And I was kind of like, when it came down, I think it was Jimi Hendrix actually kind of like, it was learning Jimmy's stuff that made me go, this Pantera stuff's really cool and I like it, but I'm getting so much more joy out of the Hendrix stuff. I'm gonna go over there. And again, it was just those choices, and again, what felt right at the time, and what still feels right now. I have no desire to pursue any Dimebag Darrel Pantera songs. I have no desire to pursue it, so I won't. And that's the point. And again, that's what I was saying earlier on. You've got to follow, you got to walk your own line. You've got to walk your own path. And but I love his guitar tone for the music he made. It's not a sound that I'd ever like. You know what I mean? If I had to play with that sound, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be very comfortable with it because I've done it a few times where I've got that kind of real gnarl. You can get it on the MGs really well because of the contour dial especially on OD2. If you get like a humbucker guitar on the MGs and go to OD2 and crank the gain and then use the contour to scoop the mids, you get a really good Dimebag Darrel tone. But it's not a sound I like at all. It doesn't appeal to me. It's just not for me. It's really cool, but I don't like it. But for what he did, it was perfect. You know what I mean? There's no way you can say his sound wasn't, it wasn't there for what he did. It's absolutely perfect for what he did. So I love it. I love his guitar player, and every now and again I'll like hear a Pantera song, and I'm like, it's so cool. I listened to Cemetery Gates for the first time. Well, not for the first time. I listened to Cemetery Gates the other week, and I was just like, oh, this is so good. And the solo in Cemetery Gates, oh my god, that is an amazing solo. It's such a good solo. The solo in Cowboys from Hell is mental as well. But he was just a demon, man. Absolute demon of a guitar player. Anyway, so that's what I think Dimebag Darrel. Like I said, the sound he has is perfect way he has, not for me. But okay, so the other part of question 4 is, what do you think to Zakk Wylde? Exactly the same. In all fairness, I love Zakk Wylde. I think as a person, he's hysterical. I follow Zakk on Instagram because some of the things he puts up on there are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. As for his guitar style and technique, it's not for me, and his tone, definitely not for me. I don't like the heavy chorusing. I don't like the overuse of pinch harmonics, and I don't like the overall tone of him. I don't like it. But again, for what he does and who he is and what he wants, perfect. You know what I mean? He's got his own sound, Zakk Wylde has. You can really pick him out. You can hear that heavy chorusing and the pinch harmonics, and his attack to the guitar is like none of it. He's just like he's just an absolute force of nature on that guitar. The way he plays with his hand is like, like that. It's like he's just knuckle duster in the guitar. It's like the guitar's just like, don't hurt me. It's like cowering underneath the weight of this monster man. Because God knows how big he is. He's humongous. Anyway, but yeah, so I really, I like I like him outside. I like him more outside of his guitar playing than his guitar playing. Because guitar playing doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't go inside and it doesn't really affect me at all. But saying that, when I remember seeing him like in his younger days when he had no beard, and he was playing some acoustic stuff and he was doing some electric stuff, and that's amazing. Some of his other stuff and his voice is what I love it. I'll tell you what, that is one thing about Zach that I actually prefer to his guitar playing is his singing. I reckon his voice is wicked, and I love his singing probably more than I love his guitar playing. His voice is wicked. It's wicked voice. It's got such a depth to it, but he can. It's so low in the register, but it's so cool. And it really works, and I just love the sound of his voice. He's got a great tonality to his voice as well, and the way he holds tune and stuff is wicked. But as for his guitar tone, no, his technique is not for me either. It's cool to see, but I don't. I get very disinterested with it very quick. It doesn't stick with me for very long, that his technique. I kind of I just feel myself drifting off from it. And again, it's not him. That's me. That's my own personal preference towards his playing. It's just not for me. But like I say, Zach is what he is. Zach is Zach Wilde, and you can't. Not many people can say that. He really does. Again, he's another one who's just carved out his own notch, and that's what he is. It's like Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi is what he is. Jimmy Page is what Jimmy Page is. Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, John Frusciante, Robert Fripp. All these guitarists have carved out these notches for themselves where they live. You know what I mean? They're not trying to be anything other than what they are. And I like that. It's like Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden have always been Iron Maiden. The stuff they did from their first album is fair enough. Now the production's higher, and and the level of fidelity in the sound is more depth to it, but it's still Iron Maiden, and I love that. I like that thing, and it's that remaining true to yourself and being honest again. Like I said earlier on, it's just being totally honest with who you are and what you want to do and where you want to take it. You know what I mean? And Dimebag Darrel and Zach are good examples of that. Zach hasn't really, Zach's been the way he has been for quite a long time now. But you can't say he's not a great guitarist, because he is. It's just the overuse of pinch harmonics and certain things here and there, and the heavy chorusing. I don't like that I don't like the chorusing he has on his guitar tone. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. I just get really kind of disinterested with it. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. It doesn't really do anything for me. But you can't dispute that man's a monster on a guitar. You know what I mean? And again, loves the guitar, loves music, and that's all that matters. But my God, Zach's one of those people that I think you'd be terrified to meet, because he's a monster of a man. But I bet he's really lovely. I bet he's a really nice guy. But I don't know. I mean, who knows? But anyway, but I do love the things he puts on Instagram. They might have me howling some of the things he's put up on Instagram sometimes. It's so funny. But yeah, anyway. There you go. Anyway, for what that's worth. So that's it, everybody. I hope I answered your questions okay. Shut up, brain. And there he is, as usual. I think in all the the A and Qs I've ever done, I don't think I have not had that voice there going, you didn't do well enough. Anyway, that's the negative side. That's the one that needs to shut up, and it's the other side of you need to get better, is the side you need to pay attention to. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Anyway, if you want to submit a question for Q&A Wednesday, everybody, description box below has an email link. Send your question there. I go through them sequentially. I don't just pick and choose unless it's a question I've already answered. If you ask a question I've already answered, I won't answer it again. I did that for quite a while, and I found I was just repeating myself quite a lot about stuff. So, if I don't answer your question, odds are I haven't got to it yet, or I've already answered it. So, just let you know, I don't pick and choose. I go through sequentially. So it just kind of I go through the emails that way. So, is there anything else to say? No, I don't think there is. is. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this vid, everybody. I'll see you again on Friday for another vid. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And yes, goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching. Ha ha!